Bye, have a great time.
ADR, this is King Black, and this video is just a little bit of a freestyle off the top of my mind, off the top of the dome kind of video. Wanted to talk about why I chose over a decade ago to join the Lion Kings. And as cheesy as this might sound, you know, as a early preteen, I was going through a lot of physical abuse at home and emotional abuse. And that eventually led to skipping school. And I didn't really feel important. I didn't feel respected, neither in my private life nor in society or in school or whatever was going on in my life during that time. And as cheesy as it sounds, the reason why I chose Lion Kings first was as simple as the name. You know, the Latin Kings. I am of Latin descent. And having that part kings, or Almighty Latin King and Queen Nation, that just sounded better to me than any of the other organizations recruiting in around the area at that time, such as the Crips, the GDs. They even had a set of folks called the Purple Dragons, as what's that movie called? As West Side Story as it sounds. It's true. Now, as cheesy as it sounds, I chose the Lion Kings to be the organization just from the name and the colors, black and yellow. They were already my favorite colors before. And something about everybody having their name behind, if you're a male king or if you're a female queen, whatever your name is, like mine is King Black, and you're calling your fellow members by their name, it's a form of respect. It's not just like how MS-13 or Serenios call each other like Snoopy, Sniper, you know, those cliche names, Chola, Loca, Puppet, you know, none of that kind of stuff appealed to me. But given my past of abuse and feeling the way I was feeling, hearing that king repeated over and over again began to instill a sense of pride within myself. And then beyond the name, when I started researching the organization and I had to learn my lessons, I had to learn the Constitution, I had to learn the leaders of the organization, you know, Pops, because I'm a bloodline, I'm not a KMC, but you also had to know who started, you know, that the whole Almighty Lion King Nation started in Chicago. Chicago is the motherland. No matter if your bloodline, you know, allegiance goes primarily to the King Motherland chapter. Lord Gino, everybody should know who's a king or queen. Should know who Lord Gino is. Everybody should definitely know, if you're in the East Coast, who King Blood is. But as I was going through some of the lessons, which, you know, as many other people on the History Channel or whatever other interviews you may see on TV will tell you, they can't get too deep into the politics because there's just certain things you can't talk about. But most of the Constitution is all positive things, positive lessons. You know, I didn't find in there that I had to commit criminal acts in order to be or to stay a king. I didn't find in there that Violence should always be used first without thinking as a reflex. I never found in there that it said to stay young and dumb. In fact, the organization, the Constitution encourages enlightenment, encourages learning. It recognizes that not every king and queen is perfect and that they will go through a journey, especially once they first join. It's all about that gangbanging. It's all about showing the colors everywhere you go. It's all about picking fights. In KM's in Chicago, the drug trade has been, some will say, eternally tied to the organization in Chicago. It's just a fact of life. There's wars constantly going on there. Everybody who knows about Chicago knows it's a war zone. But as far as Bloodline goes, which is the East Coast and even extends to other countries, we had a chance to be different. We have a chance to break out of that mold. The environment isn't as intense other places as it is in Chicago. Maybe New York City, but outside of that, and maybe Philadelphia, but outside of that, Texas, yeah, there's some bad things that happen in Texas, but on a daily basis, it isn't like Chicago. It's not like Humboldt Park. It's not like Pilsen. So being a king appealed to me because not only did it have the colors that I liked, the name, feeling respected, being able to also grow within the organization, reach a higher position. But I also liked that I wasn't encouraged, at least in my particular case, in my particular tribe, to commit criminal acts. Especially in my journey as a king, I am saddened by every king and queen that ends up going to jail for whatever crime they have gone to jail for that is not already inexcusable in the Almighty Land King and Queen Nation. For example, when a brother goes in for murder, I feel saddened because he committed murder, and only in a very select instance should the taking of a human life occur, which is either in war or in self-defense that you didn't instigate. Or either case, even if it was instigated, but in self-defense, if it's between you or me, nobody's gonna love me more than me. Or when I hear a brother or sister go to jail for drug trafficking charges, it saddens me because not only did they destroy themselves, but they destroyed the communities that they are supposed to protect and exalt. We're supposed to be examples to the younger generations. We're supposed to be examples to the kids. They can grow up and be a part of this organization and not go to jail, not die, not have stories of getting shot 15 times, 10 times, having scars, 6-inch scars up your legs or on your stomach. We are supposed to be standing for the communities that we live in, supposed to be making it a better place. Look at some of the things that Spain is doing, even some of the things that Ecuador was doing. Like when that earthquake in Ecuador happened, and more than 1,000 king and queens were out there looking through rubble, looking for any survivors, help handing out water, supplies, different things. And it's an amazing thing when the media loves to focus on the negative. They love to focus on 13 members found with firearms and 2 kilograms of marijuana and cocaine and this and that. But they're not so quick to put in the front page, 30 members gathered together for a meeting with the local youth of the risk of drugs and selling drugs and using drugs and why they should be focusing on their studies. They don't report on that. They don't plaster that on the front page. Law enforcement isn't quick to point that out. Anywhere you look, there's going to be bad apples. I mean, even in the police force, even in the army, there are, we're so quick to generalize these things as if they can do no wrong. It's just like your doctor. Your doctor's your doctor, but he's also a human being. He commits mistakes, and although a surgery that may seem routine for whatever the reason, with you it turns out to be different. You know, we can't generalize the whole organization, and I refuse to stand here and say that, at least where I am at, that we encourage violent criminal behavior. I don't encourage that. After being a member for more than a decade and never having seen a day in a jail cell, I can stand here and say that for me, the organization is not about that. And there's going to be a lot of commenters and a lot of wannabes or posers or fakers or whatever else have you, law enforcement, whoever watches this video is going to try and say that's BS, the Land Kings is all about doing this and doing that. No, it's not. In all of the writings, it's not about that. But I cannot, and nobody can control every single individual's actions. There's always things happening behind closed doors. You can only watch what you do and what you say. You have to let your actions speak for you just as loud as your words. How many leaders have been brought down because they were preaching one thing but doing another? Look at the case that happened with King Tone. He was always advocating kids to not use violence, to put the guns down, to think smarter, to be more mature. But then he gets caught up in conspiracy. Conspiracy, drug trafficking, or cocaine trafficking, whatever that specific thing was. In my case, I can confidently say I don't live in that world. I have never indulged in that world. I have never sold, never held in my hand, never used, never plan on using. The most drugs I've ever used is smoking cigarettes, the ibuprofen, or some aspirin. I believe that this organization cannot be involved in cocaine, marijuana, heroin, methamphetamine, etc., because all it does is tarnish the image that we have been struggling to rebuild for decades now. The time for the wars and relentless violence have passed. That was during the decades of the 70s, 80s, and 90s when territory was trying to be established. And regardless of what KMC is doing, I'm talking about outside of KMC, I'm talking outside of Chicago. Chicago will always do its thing. It's a whole different culture over there. And I am not going to pretend that I can persuade anybody from Chicago to turn away from whatever they're doing. But I'm just speaking to the kings and queens and everybody else listening to this outside of Chicago. That's also one of the main reasons that brought me to be a king, was that I didn't have to do none of that crap to remain or to be a member. And to see those who voluntarily take those risks, to willingly throw their life away if they get caught doing these things, it breaks my heart. Because they got to be lucky every second of every day. Law enforcement only has to be lucky for 1 second. As soon as they got you, they got you. And if $1,000 is worth 15 years of your life to you, then by all means, you're going to do what you're going to do. Nothing I will say will persuade you otherwise. But all that freedom you have given up is not worth that $1,000. that family you won't be able to see grow old, or if your grandparents pass away, your parents pass away, your kids grow up without you. That is not worth $1,000. No matter how poor, how broke you might be right now, there's always another route. There's always a legit route. Temp jobs. You got family, do something, hustle, man. Cut some grass, start your own thing, start things yourself. Don't steal, don't shoplift, don't sell drugs, don't be committing assaults unprovoked unless they are in self defense.